Hello again and welcome back to the channel. So I just want to show you something now, because this will just give an idea of what to expect when you arrive at your airport to join your ship. So this was a couple of years ago when I was on the Morella celebration, but for those that have never cruised, it might just help. Now, when you board the coach from the airport after you've collected your luggage to go to your cruise port, every passenger usually receives one of these, which is a Morella Cruises information leaflet, which you get on the coach explaining what to expect when you arrive at the port. So it will say, so this one says, "Welcome to Morella Celebration and the start of your Venetian Vistas cruise." So then it says at the port and the first steps. So what usually happens, and you'll get this on yours when you go on your cruise, it usually says, when you reach the port, stay in your seat. A member of the team will welcome you and give you some useful information about the embarkation process. Your first step is to make your way inside the terminal, the cruise terminal. Present your passport to collect your ship's boarding card. You'll need this card when getting on and off the ship and to charge any onboard purchases to your account. Okay. Labels were placed on your luggage at the UK check-in, so your luggage will be taken directly to your cabin. Because when I went on this cruise, it was from Dubrovnik, so it was bonded. But anyway, next bit's important. Make sure that you have your passport and credit or debit card to hand when you check in. Please note we do not accept American Express cards. If you prefer to leave a cash deposit, this can be done at reception. Clear signs will show you the way to the ship. You'll pass through the ship's security on the gangway for screening and present your ship's boarding card. Please ensure that any hand luggage, phones, loose change are placed through the scanning machine. You'll then be met by a member of the ship's team who will direct you to your cabin. That generally happens when you board the other ships with Morella. Please allow 1 or 2 hours for your luggage to be delivered to your cabin. It also takes additional time to be scanned at the port before it can be brought on board in line with local security measures. So it says safety at sea. So then it mentions about the muster drill. Now, before, you had to actually go to a muster station with a life jacket, but now you don't have to do that. When on Explorer 2, when we went, on the TV in the cabin, it had got the actual muster video playing. But what you had to do, you still had to go to your muster station, and on your cabin door, it usually tells you where that is. It might be outside on the promenade deck, it could be in one of the restaurants. In our case, it was the Broadway Show Lounge on Explorer 2. So what we had to do was obviously watch the video on the TV and then head to the Broadway Show Lounge to have the cards scanned. And that then told them that you'd watched the video, that you'd basically done your muster drill. And on the app, on Navigate, there's an option on there that says My Muster. So you go onto that and you put in your cabin number and obviously acknowledge that you've done your muster drill by watching it on the TV or reading about it, and then getting your card scanned, and then that way it's out the way. Because if you're on the cruise for 2 weeks, other guests have to do their muster drill, but you don't have to do it unless you change cabins. That's usually the situation. So, and it says that you can watch it on channel 33 of your in-cabin telly, and we'd encourage you to watch this on your first day. That generally is what happens now. Services will be limited during this important drill, which is usually bars and restaurants. So do that obviously before you do anything else. But that's usually what you get on board the ship, and obviously you open it out and it gives you the information of the itinerary that you're going to do, and also when you want to dine, and obviously your onboard ship account, going ashore, to do with the Wi-Fi, and obviously on the back of it, it usually gives you the people that are serving on board your ship. So on the celebration when I was on, Ted James, who I know from the Spirit, was the cruise director, and obviously it was Captain Greg from Ukraine who was the captain. Well, I think he's the captain of Discovery too. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure he is. It's Greg Torber. So he's from Ukraine, and I'm pretty sure he's the captain of Discovery 2. I'm sure one's on Facebook, on the group page, or on here will tell me which one it is. But anyway, that's roughly what you'll get when you board the ship. Okay, when you enter your cabin, either on the first day or at night, you usually receive one of these in your room, which is a cruise news, which will tell you what your port is the next day. Or it will say welcome on board. In this case, it was Celebration. So on this one, it says welcome to Bar Montenegro, right? So it usually tells you what to expect when you're in port. So it will tell you what time you arrive and what time the ship's going to depart, which gangway it is, what the weather's going to do, and obviously if you want to get your currency from reception and the times of the opening times of that. And in this case on here, it then tells you where the ship's going to go next. So in this case it was Korčula and how fast the ship's going to go. It tells you about what the show is on the show lounge. You can usually watch 2 shows, one at 7 and one at 9 or whatever. And in this case as well, it mentioned about that it was the gala night. So there was 2 sittings, one at 7, one at 5:30 and one at 7:30. So if you had a blue or a green invitation in your room, that would indicate which one it is, and it would tell you which one it is. And obviously it then tells you on there what time to be back on board. So that's why in this case it said arrival 8 o'clock, departure 6:30. So usually passengers have to be back on board half an hour before sail out, and crew is usually an hour before. So if you're in port, let's say for example between 10 and 3, then you'd have to be back on board by 2:30 at the latest. The crew have to be back on board at 2, you'd have to be back on board at 2:30. If you're on a trip, the ship won't go without you. If you do things on your own and you're not back on time, it will, and you will find yourselves in a very costly experience because you'll find that your passport will still be on board and you've then got to get to the next port. How are you going to do that? A lot of expenditure. So bear that in mind, always be on time for the ship's departure. There's usually a TV screen at the gangway telling you what time to be back on board, and also a wooden clock at the bottom of the actual gangway itself telling you what time to be back on board, and it's also on the tannoy. Good idea, take your cruise news with you in your man bag if you've got one, or rucksack, and obviously make sure you read it before you leave the ship and think, well, what time do we need to be back on board? If you're on a trip, don't worry about it because you'll be back on time anyway. And if you are late because of traffic, they usually get you back and they know, and the ship won't go without you. So bear that in mind. But usually inside the cruise news, you've got the different locations of where everywhere is, what deck reception's on, what deck the restaurants are on, about shore excursions, etc. The fact they don't have maps anymore, there's usually a screen on destination services and you can take a photograph of it, or you could even, there's a website you can go on actually where you can get a printout of all the maps. Somebody has done a printout of all the maps. I'm not sure what the website is, but I know there's a chap online who has done it. And then also inside you've got what to drink. So you've got it there, what to drink, where to drink, coffee port, and the different bars. Obviously it mentions about meet the team. So it is Captain Greg Torbar on Celebration at this point. He's now on Discovery 2, I believe, as I said earlier. So it'll be interesting to see him again. If people want to put any birthday or anniversary messages in, go and see the reception team or the onboard social hostess and they can sort that out. If you want to surprise somebody, you can put that in there. Obviously, and then it's got the entertainment in the evening on which deck and where it is, and obviously in the afternoon as well, all the entertainment there. So they usually have an afternoon trivia at 2 o'clock on the pool deck, which they do here. The bite-sized challenge, I always used to enjoy that, which is the mystery voices. If you're one of these people that likes bingo, they do that, and it's £5 for 3 games, it says. And I think on the Discovery 2 it's in the Squid and Anchor bar, which is where it was on Explorer 2. And you can just, they recommend you don't use a pencil but use a pen or a bingo dabber. So if you want to do that, you can do that. Another thing I enjoyed on the cruise was categories, where they divide the deck into 2 teams, and then the cruise director or whatever will say, right, want you to find something that begins with the letter A on this deck, and then everybody writes it down, or you give it the entertainment host, and then they shout it out, and then you get points. They always do the port showcase is worth going to on sea day, because you get to see where you're going every day, and the destination services team are there, and you can book your trips if you've not already done it, but I do recommend you book before you go. The backstage tour of the show lounge is good. You get to see the show team. They usually do that on sea day. This carpet bowls, I enjoyed that. They always do a quiz in the morning and in the evening as well, and the mystery voices. They always have a game show on in one of the bars, and they do multimedia quizzes. There's loads of things on board to keep you entertained, even on sea day. And then on the back, they usually give you what offers they've got on, whether it's photos or extras in the shops. On this one, it mentions about Cora Law, to book that early. And obviously, I've done that, pre-booked it, because it gets very popular. And obviously, it mentions about the Gala night. So you'll get one of those in your cabin every single night of your cruise. But you can also access this on the Navigate app, but you can only use it on the ship. So hopefully this video, quite lengthy, has helped you in all aspects of that, regarding getting your information leaflet at the airport when you get on the bus, and also your cruise news in the room. So hopefully this has answered all your questions. So please leave a comment, subscribe at CallSmith25, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.